Evening, one and all. Welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show Worldwide here on the Vida television network. Happy first day of November. Where did 2017 go, huh? I mean, man alive. Thanksgiving and Christmas right around the corner. We have a lot to cover tonight. Now, I let some of the breaking news about the Mueller investigation percolate a little bit. I wanted to see where some of the information came down after Monday's announcement that Bob Mueller had indicted two of Donald Trump's former associates. There are a couple of things that you have to remember when you're digesting all of this, and I'm going to tell you some things that I bet you the rest of the basket of biased press and the biased media didn't tell you. That is, after I tell you how to get in touch with the Chris Salcedo Show. Really easy. Go to chrissalcedo.com. You can leave a voicemail or you can leave a regular email there for me. Don't forget, if you leave some feedback on the show or you ask some questions, we could use your email or your voicemail on the air here. If you want instantaneous feedback, we may even put those tweets up too if you jump on at Chris Salcedo TX at ChrisSalcedoTX as in Texas. Okay, so Bob Mueller announces his indictments, but on Saturday, we all knew about it. We knew about it Saturday and Sunday, and that really rubbed this guy. His name is Trey Gowdy. He was speaking with Fox News. It rubbed him the wrong way. Just think about this, folks. When a grand jury releases information to the public that's pertaining to an ongoing investigation, it's illegal. So the leaks to CNN. By the way, a guy by the name of Evans over at CNN has a long and checkered past with some of the employees over at Fusion GPS. Fusion GPS is that Democrat headhunting smear merchant that does deals with the hated Russians. Oh, yes. Anyway, so Bob Mueller's team leaks to CNN just to knock off the front pages the fact that the Democrats and Hillary Clinton are now being implicated in their actual dealings with the Russians, not only with the Uranium One deal, but also paying for this fake Trump dossier, the entire predicate for this investigation that Bob Mueller is undertaking. Trey Gowdy noticed that here is Bob Mueller's team announcing on Monday, and he's on Sunday, and we all knew about this impending announcement on Saturday. It was leaked. Completely illegal, and that wasn't lost on Trey Gowdy.
I will tell you this. The only conversation I've had with Robert Mueller, it was stressing to him the importance of cutting out the leaks with respect to serious investigations. So it is kind of ironic that the people charged with investigating the law and executing the law would violate the law. And make no mistake, disclosing grand jury material is a violation of the law. So as a former prosecutor, I'm disappointed that you and I are having the conversation because somebody violated their oath of secrecy.
Yeah, that's Fox News Sunday, and he was talking with Chris Wallace, and he's absolutely correct. But to Trey Gowdy, I would ask him, what do you expect? They're Democrats. Democrats violate the law. That's what they do. That's why the Chris Salcedo Show calls them the anti-rule of law party. That is what they do. Not a surprise to me. They violate the law so long as it works to their political advantage. Another aspect of this Bob Mueller investigation and the indictments.
That in the FEC filings, it simply says $12 million to Perkins Cole, the law firm, for legal work. No mention of the fact that it was also paying for Oppo research that went to Christopher Steele, a former British intelligence agency agent that went to the Kremlin, not the money to the Kremlin, but his investigation. As I understand it, that willful misrepresentation of campaign expenditures is a criminal offense.
He's talking about the Fusion GPS payoff, the fake Trump dossier. This is what they got into on Fox News Sunday, and this is what the Bob Mueller announcement of the indictments was supposed to knock off the front page. So what Chris Wallace is saying is that when you're in a political campaign, you have to basically make a note on a ledger and let the Federal Elections Commission know what you're spending money on. Hillary Clinton and the Democrat National Committee didn't tell the folks they were buying opposition research from Fusion GPS. They mislabeled it. Now, mislabeled is probably too light. They hid it. They decided not to be forthright and forthcoming. They lied to the FEC. And there's a reason why they did, because they knew that Fusion GPS was going to the Russians to get dirt on Donald Trump, and Hillary Clinton and the Democrats paid for it. We'll talk more about that in the second segment, but here's Trey Gowdy's response to Chris Wallace.
Well, I'm not an election law expert, Chris, but the good news is you don't have to be to understand the absurdity of believing that you can launder all of your campaign money by just hiring a law firm. I mean,
do you know why he's saying this? The Democrats always trying to game the system like they do. The Democrats tried to hide all of this under attorney-client privilege. I know this is going to get kind of in the weeds, folks, but I need you to understand this. So what the DNC and Hillary Clinton did is they paid a law firm to go out and contract with election money, campaign money. They contracted with this law firm to go out and hire this GPS firm, which has relationships with the Russians, deep ties to the Russians, including the Russian lawyer Vianetskaya, who was a centerpiece in Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with her when Donald Trump Jr. thought he was going to get some dirt on Hillary Clinton. The only difference is the Democrats here paid for it. That's illegal. What Donald Trump, by taking the meeting, did wasn't illegal. And the Democrats were saying that was treasonous. I wonder what Hillary Clinton and the DNC paying for it is. Certainly at a minimum treasonous. Anyway, so the whole idea that they would run all of this through a law firm, so the law firm could say, well, you can't come and ask me who paid for the fake Trump dossier because it's attorney-client privilege. That's no bueno. It completely defeats the spirit of the law, and that's what Trey Gowdy's talking about.
Imagine if you and I were running for Congress and we just hired a law firm and said, hey, you go do all the oppo, you go buy all the television, you go buy all the bumper stickers, you go hire all the experts, and we're going to launder all of this through a law firm. I can't think of anything that defeats the purpose of transparency laws more than that. So I am interested in that, and I am also interested in sharing some memory tricks with folks at the DNC, because no one can remember who paid $10 million to a law firm to do oppo research. I find that stunning. $10 million, and no one can remember who authorized it, who approved it, who said, yeah, this is a really good idea. So you got two issues, a memory issue, and then the lack of transparency by laundering money through a law firm.
When Democrats get caught, they have a lot of memory issues, don't they? He's talking about $9.6 million laid out by the DNC and by the Hillary Clinton campaign. And now I'm hearing that dollar figure is a lot higher, $12 million. $12 million bucks. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary Clinton, nobody in the campaign, nobody at the DNC. I can't remember who authorized this. I don't know. Do you know? No, nobody knows who paid the firm with Russian ties to dig up dirt on Donald Trump. Nobody knows. Trey Gowdy was being very cute there, but I think he's spot on. This holy amnesia by Democrats, it doesn't excuse you from the law breaking you did. More on all of this. He said,
did the FBI base its original investigation, at least in part on the dossier? And when you talk about court representations, that's the possibility that they used the dossier to convince a FISA court to allow the FBI to wiretap people in Trump world, Trump associates. Do you have any evidence of that? I understand the investigation is just beginning.
First off, you understand what he's asking. This is scary, and Trey Gowdy's going to lay out how scary it is. Now, I've told you guys before about under Barack Obama, how liberalism infected every aspect of our government, including areas where politics were never acceptable in our national security and in our defense and in our law enforcement agencies. FBI, CIA, the Director of National Intelligence. They were all left-wing zealots determined to protect illegality of Democrats and undermine the incoming administration of Donald Trump. That's what they were committed to. They completely abused their offices, completely abused the trust that we, the people, had put into those institutions. There was a poll that came out during the Obama years that during Obama's occupation of the Oval Office, faith in our institutions had reached an all-time low. And that was well earned. because Barack Obama turned our government against us. And that's the reason why we saw those types of polling numbers. Anyway, Trey Gowdy is going to get into this idea of now what happens if this fake Trump dossier was the basis for all of these investigations now, and the people in law enforcement knew it. What does that tell us?
Well, actually, the investigation is not just beginning. We've been trying for a long time to get the Department of Justice to give us access to this information. It frankly took the Speaker of the House this week to tell the department that we're not going away. Chris, people don't like it when I say this, but it's actually true. It's sometimes hard to tell the difference between the Obama Department of Justice and the current Department of Justice in terms of transparency and their.
Folks, for those of you that this is a political angle, I want you to understand. He just basically said the Attorney General of the United States, Jeff Sessions, no different than Loretta Lynch or Eric Holder. It's patently offensive if you have a reputation as being law-abiding, as Jeff Sessions likes to say, or conservative, as Jeff Sessions likes to say. But Trey Gowdy is making a point that it's impossible to find justice because of all of the Obama holdovers, and Attorney General Sessions is getting this reputation of being in over his head.
Willingness to share information with Congress. This is a really simple request. Did you rely on the dossier? And if so, did you vet it before you relied upon it? You can answer that in 30 seconds, but it's taken 3 months for the Department of Justice, and only recently have they agreed to give us the information. So the battle is not just with House Democrats. Unfortunately, it's also with the Department of Justice to gain access to the information we need to wrap up this investigation.
Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, came out and said, come on, enough already. Enough. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, I get the sense that because of the way Mueller and James Comey perverted that agency for politics' sake, that the rank and file are trying to not let the word get out of just how compromised that organization became under Barack Obama. So, and that's why they've been slow walking all of these documents, which Congress is entitled to.
You know, Chris, there are 5 words that start with C: collusion, coordination, conspiracy, contact, and coincidence.
Now, they're talking about collusion and how it's on the other foot for the Democrats. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama facilitating the sale of our uranium to the Russians. Did they collude to give Bill Clinton that massive payday on his speech, 3 times what he would normally charge? The millions that went into the Clinton Foundation. What did we get out of the whole Uranium One deal? Meaning we, the United States. So Chris Wallace wants to know from Trey Gowdy, hey, well, is the real story here Democrat collusions with Russians? Trey Gowdy didn't take the bait.
And where this falls out in those 5 C's, I don't know. The word collusion has a criminal connotation to it. I think the premise of your question is accurate. For a long time, we've heard about all the ties between the Trump campaign and Russia, for which there is no evidence. And lo and behold, despite serious Democrat opposition, we have uncovered that the DNC was working with Russian actors to try to besmirch Donald Trump's reputation. So it's certainly interesting. Whether it's collusion, coincidence, coordination, I don't know yet.
Yeah, he doesn't know yet. And he's going to let an investigation go forward into that. But I don't want to let what Trey Gowdy said go by the wayside. You guys realize the Federal Bureau of Investigation under James Comey started investigating Donald Trump, I believe for political purposes, over a year and a half ago. And still to this day, Adam Schiff, the Democrat weasel from California, hasn't a shred of evidence of collusion between Donald Trump's campaign or the Russians. But just one dam broke with the Uranium One deal and with Fusion GPS. We now have solid evidence because the Democrat National Committee and the Hillary Clinton campaign have admitted that they paid for the Trump dossier of direct connections between the Democrat Party and Russia. We have direct connections between the Democrat Party under Barack Obama selling our uranium to the Russians. Direct contact. And we have, this is circumstantial, but we have evidence of Hillary Clinton's her coffers inside of the Clinton Foundation ballooning from Russia payoffs, and Bill Clinton's speeches ballooning because of Russian payoffs. Let me ask you this. Who are the real Russian colluders? Democrats or Republicans? Now, to bring this full circle, and we got Byron Henry coming on in the next segment. It's Alan Dershowitz, folks. Alan Dershowitz was on with Fox and Friends. He is a Democrat. I have to stress this. He is a Democrat. Here's what he is saying about Bob Mueller's indictments coming down the pike here and what the motivation for Mr. Mueller truly is.
Sure, it's all about leverage. They're going after Manafort on something that apparently has nothing to do with Trump. Years ago, his own business.
Tax fraud.
Yeah, but what they're saying to him is, we got you now, and we don't care about that. But if you can tell us something about Trump and the campaign and collusion, we'll give you a get-out-of-jail card free. So it's all about leverage. That's the way prosecutors work.
Yeah, it's a standard tactic, and what you guys have to know is Paul Manafort hasn't given up the ghost on anything yet. And probably it's because there is no ghost to give up. There is no Russia collusion between the Trump campaign or Donald Trump and the Russians. But this tactic that he's outlining is that they're trying to shake the tree and hopefully he'll roll over. Some people do even make up things to get the heat off of them. But this tells me how desperate Bob Mueller is to find something, anything to justify the millions of dollars he's spending and wasting of taxpayers' money. And there doesn't seem to be anything there. All right, Byron Henry coming up next. The Chris Salcedo Show Worldwide on the Vida television network. Be right back. And welcome back, everybody, to the Chris Salcedo Show Worldwide here on the Vida television network. Earlier today, spoke with one of our legal eagles here on the Chris Salcedo Show, Byron Henry. He gave me his take on the Bob Mueller indictments that were handed down. Turned out to be, as we said in the previous segment, a complete nothing burger, but he had some evaluations about what it did say and what it doesn't say about the investigations going further and whether or not it may implicate Democrats in the long run. This is how it went. Welcome back, everybody. It's Chris Salcedo Show. Glad you have tuned in. On the phone with us now, Byron Henry, everybody. He's one of the legal eagles here on the Chris Salcedo Show, an attorney with Sheef and Stone. Mr. Henry, welcome back to the Chris Salcedo Show.
Glad to be with you, Chris.
All right. Manafort indicted. Let me just read from the accounts here, and also one of his business associates. 12 counts, including conspiracy against the United States. Other counts in the indictment include conspiracy to launder money, false statements, and 7 counts of failing to file reports of foreign bank and financial accounts nearly exclusively. There's a slight bit of overlap, and it's almost inconsequential. Nearly exclusively, all of this focus is on the time that Mr. Manafort, before he was associated with the Trump campaign, yes?
That's right. According to what I've read, all of the indictments relate to charges that were filed relating to money and connections Mr. Manafort had with Russia and Ukraine, independent of the Trump campaign.
Correct. Now, let's detail the seriousness of these charges, and then we'll get into this strategy, and it seems pretty typical by everybody I've been listening to this morning. Alan Dershowitz, a Democrat, Judge Andrew Napolitano, a Republican, and James Rosen, a legitimate journalist. We'll get into the strategy here in a minute. But as far as these charges, how serious are they, and how much of a penalty can they carry?
Well, it's prison time for all of them, and there's multiple counts. So, I mean, you're looking at significant prison time if he's convicted. I would say that I know you want to get into the strategy later on, but these indictments have been expected. In fact, Manafort and his attorney were spreading that he expected to be indicted since late summer, after they conducted the FBI conducted the raid at his house regarding and scooped up all the financial documents. So to the extent he had something to offer or a deal was to be made, he's had roughly, at least 2 months, maybe a little longer, to make any deals prior to indictments coming down. So I don't buy the leverage. I think that's wishful thinking on the part of the left and Democrats. It is a standard strategy for prosecutors, don't get me wrong, that's true. But the idea that they are now going to flip Manafort and all this information that no congressional committees, no leakers, no Justice Department, and no special counsel has uncovered to date on all this collusion by President Trump and the Russians regarding the election is just going to come flowing out, I think is very far-fetched and highly unlikely.
Trey Gowdy said pretty much the same thing on Fox News Sunday over the weekend, but let me play Judge Andrew Napolitano and get you to react. He was on Fox and Friends this morning. Have a listen.
That this is the first of many dominoes to fall, that Bob Mueller is following the standard MO of federal prosecutors. You got a totem pole, you got somebody at the top of the totem pole, that's your big prize. No surprise, it's the President of the United States. You're going to indict people going up the totem pole to see if you can squeeze them, threaten their ruination by loss of liberty and loss of property, to get them to turn evidence against the top guy. Sometimes people will make things up so that the squeezing will stop. Sometimes they'll say, I don't know anything about the president. He didn't do anything wrong. He had nothing to do with this. We'll see where it's going to go. This is the first of many steps in Bob Mueller's putting together an enormous puzzle.
And you're saying that because you don't expect Paul Manafort to invent something to get himself off and turn over any or doesn't have any evidence, that this is going to go nowhere, and that the other dominoes that the judge was making reference to, there won't be many more to fall. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying there's no dominoes, and I'm not disputing that this is not standard operating procedure. My point is only that these investigations have been going on a long time, much longer than Mueller's been in charge. The Congress has been involved. There's been independent reporting on this issue for many, many months, and there is simply, to date, no evidence that President Trump or members of his campaign during the 2016 election colluded, which that word still eludes me for purposes of a legal definition. I say conspired with the Russians to somehow affect the outcome of the election. It could happen. I mean, I'm just going by evidence. We try to stay grounded here and not wishful thinking. And the idea that you go after someone at the top of the totem pole is ludicrous. A person who's sworn to uphold the Constitution, a federal prosecutor, a U.S. attorney, does not set their sights on someone against whom they have no evidence and try to find evidence against that person.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't it? Well, hold on, Byron, because isn't that the predicate of this entire special counsel investigation? There has been no evidence from the get-go, other than a lot of hurt feelings from the Democrats, but they convened a special counsel investigation based on no evidence, based on no charges. There was collusion, as you rightly point out, isn't a crime. So this whole investigation has been predicated on nothing.
Worse than nothing. We learned that the FBI kept the investigation open and actually did surveillance on some Trump officials based on the discredited dossier about Trump. Not only did they pay for it and the Hillary Clinton campaign helped fund it, but then they relied on it in court, it seems. Now, hopefully there was more information than just what was in the dossier to get FISA warrants and surveil the Trump administration, which to me, in and of itself, is a story worth reporting and getting to the bottom of.
No, I agree. And you know what? And that you just brought me right where I wanted to go. By the way, Byron Henry with the law firm Sheef and Stone in Dallas, Texas, folks, is our guest right now, one of the legal eagles here on the Chris Salcedo Show. So the timing of all of this, as the Fusion GPS investigation gets underway, because the DNC and Hillary Clinton paid for that, as the Uranium One deal that investigation gets underway in Congress. Actually, it's been underway for a long time. It's just the Justice Department, the FBI, has been withholding documentation because a lot of the Obama holdovers are not turning over this stuff. At any rate, all of a sudden there starts to be a little bit of momentum that picks up, and magically Bob Mueller, the FBI director who was in charge during this bribery investigation with the Uranium One deal, all of a sudden he announces this indictment over the weekend. The timing seems very suspect to me. I don't know about you.
Well, it's not only suspect, but the idea that Mueller might have been involved with the FBI back at a time when the FBI was involved with investigating Manafort, involved with investigating or having anything to do with Fusion GPS also raises questions. And I will tell you, there's a reason why Democrats have been so quiet, and even senior Democrats like Dianne Feinstein and others. Senator Feinstein had said early on that there doesn't seem to be much here with this Russian collusion. I suspect that they are not happy with Mueller digging into every single branch of this and root of this and where it goes, because I suspect that there's enough to go around unsavory behavior, even if it's not criminal, by the Democrats, and we've already gotten a taste of it with respect to the dossier and the funding by the DNC and the FBI that could taint not just candidate Hillary Clinton, but Secretary of State Clinton and the Obama administration. All
right. Last thing I wanted to talk to you about is because, and we brought this up last week, the hypocrisy of the Democrat Party. Now, you remember when Vianetskaya, that Russian lawyer, met under false pretenses saying, oh, I've got some dirt on Hillary Clinton. Can we meet with Donald Trump Jr.? And he took the meeting. And Vianetskaya only wanted to talk about the Russian adoption bill to get it relieved. But he went there looking for dirt. And Democrats said that was treason. Democrats and anchors on MSNBS said that was treason. Now you fast forward. Now the Democrats and Hillary Clinton campaign paid Fusion GPS, an ally of the Russian government. They actually paid money to the Fusion GPS who went to the Russians. That does cross the line, does it not? When you actually, now Donald Trump Jr. didn't cross any lines. He didn't pay for anything, but the Democrats did pay Russian interests for dirt on Donald Trump. There's a difference between those two cases, yes?
Well, if the definition of collusion is working with, and you're just going to use a broad definition that doesn't have any bearing in criminal law or any other law, and you're just going to say collusion means working with, then absolutely. The Hillary Clinton campaign worked with a company that was in bed with the Russians with respect to the election and digging up dirt on Donald Trump. Flip side, Kushner and Donald Trump Jr. met with a lawyer, not with Russia, but a lawyer who supposedly had information on the Hillary Clinton. Now, they didn't work with her because they refused it, but there was a meeting regarding dirt on Hillary Clinton. So regardless of the gravity of it, if you're talking about working with people that are from another country, Russia in this case,
right.
If that's collusion, and I'm not even saying it is, because as I said before, I'm not sure what that means, but if it means working with someone from another country like Russia, then the Hillary campaign certainly worked with people that represented and worked with Russia. If Donald Trump Jr. meeting with a Russian lawyer on the possibility there may be dirt to dig up without paying for it, if that's working with it, then so is the Hillary Clinton campaign. There's no doubt.
Byron Henry, everybody, with Sheef and Stone, Legal Eagle here at the Chris Salcedo Show. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the time. Yeah, you know what, folks, I got to tell you, paying a foreign entity for dirt, that's the problem. My understanding of election law, that's a no-no. And that is going to do it for the Chris Salcedo Show Worldwide for this evening. Keep in touch with the show. Anything that you've seen here you want to comment on, you want us to address, go to chrissalcedo.com. You can leave a voicemail there, or you can leave an email there. So a couple of ways to get in touch with the program. Or if you want instantaneous feedback, on Twitter at Chris Salcedo TX. Have a great evening, everybody. See you back here tomorrow night for the Chris Salcedo Show Worldwide on the Vida television network.